Now that's going on in the region. I'm pleased to say joining us from Amman is Jordan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ayman Safadi. Foreign Minister, welcome to Al Jazeera. It's good to have you with us. First of all, I'd like to start with both those attacks in Iraq and in Syria, given the ongoing very high tensions in the region and attacks going from the Red Sea all the way to the border with Lebanon. What's your view about what's going on and the dangers of this spilling over into something more fundamental?
Well, sir, from the very beginning, we warned that this aggression on Gaza carries the very serious risk of spilling over into the rest of the region. Added to that now that the Israeli Prime Minister might be consciously provoking confrontations on other fronts, particularly with Lebanon and other parts of the region, to delay the political reckoning that he will have to face, and also to navigate around the differences that we're seeing emerging with the United States and others in terms of what the vision for the future is. So to belittle the impact of that the difference with the US and others and to delay the political reckoning, Prime Minister Netanyahu might be working towards provoking other fronts to which he would drag the West, and then we'll be looking at a very serious escalation of the conflict.
Indeed. So, Foreign Minister, what is Jordan, what are Arab states doing to try and prevent that spillover? And frankly, is it enough?
Well, I mean, we're doing everything we can, but ultimately it is the Israeli government, it's Israel that is defying not just the will of the Arabs, but the will of the whole international community when it continues with its aggression. And I think we're working with all our partners. The day after tomorrow, I'll be visiting with all European foreign ministers, along with the foreign minister of Saudi Arabia and Egypt, to try again and rally support, not only for ending the aggression, but to make sure that we all come together behind a plan that would end occupation and put the region on an irreversible path towards peace. Here we're faced with an Israeli government that is defying the international community, that continues with its violation of international law, that continues to push the region towards the abyss of regional war. And we have an international community that is yet to come and demand unequivocally an end of Israel wars, and ultimately will have to face the very difficult question, which is if the whole world, including the United States, is saying that the only path forward is a path that would fulfill the rights of the Palestinians to freedoms and statehood on the basis of the two-state solution, and the Israeli government is saying no and is defying them, then what is going to be to the response? Is it more lip service to the two-state solution, or is it a real plan supported by a real will?
Where is that plan coming from? Where is that plan coming from? I mean, many would say that the Arab states should be doing a lot more to try and make that happen.
We are in consultation with a lot of our brethren in the region. We have the ideas, we're articulating our plans, and basically what we want is a plan that would start from the end game, i.e. it starts by recognizing the independent Palestinian state on the basis of June 4, 1967 lines with occupied Jerusalem as capital. And then with the rest of the international community, we walk back on measures that would take us there. We cannot engage in another open-ended process because we've seen what that has done in the past. Right. So we in the Arab world to do our share. Now we're looking and we're talking to our friends in the international community, particularly to the United States, to come and lead an effort that would take us there.
Okay, and on the United States, the Biden administration has been forthright in the need for a two-state solution, publicly at least. It's something that the Israeli Prime Minister has said could never happen. Yet, after a phone conversation between Biden and Netanyahu yesterday, Joe Biden said the creation of an independent Palestinian state was still possible while Benjamin Netanyahu is still in office. Do you think that is the case?
I think it's very clear that Prime Minister Netanyahu never wanted a two-state solution. Even before yesterday, he said he is proud he had prevented the establishment of a Palestinian state. Earlier, he said he had suffocated the aspirations of of Palestinians for freedom. So we're dealing with a prime minister who now tactically delaying the war to prolong his term in office, but is acting on an agenda that does not want to see the two-state solution. And that's a challenge that the whole world is going to face. Either we allow this government with its radical, racist, extremist agenda to doom the future of the region to more conflict or war, or we all come together and say we will not allow Netanyahu to determine the future of this region, just as he doomed the past of the region to more conflict. And if I may just, another issue that we should not lose sight of is that as we talk about the future, we need to remember that the Israeli aggression on Gaza is continuing, the killing of Palestinians is continuing, the destruction of the whole infrastructure of Gaza, including the health infrastructure, is continuing. And only 2 days ago, on Wednesday, Israel attacked our own field hospital, one of very, very few hospitals that are offering services to the Palestinians. Even though Israel knows the coordinates of the hospital, it knows that this is a hospital manned by Jordanian medical staff, and yet it went ahead and directly targeted the hospital. So that speaks to a systematic Israeli policy of trying to make life impossible for people in Gaza, and then ultimately fulfill its declared objective of many of its ministers to push Gazans out. So as we focus on
given
what
that, Foreign Minister, given your position and given the position, the stated position of Arab states, why is it that it came down to South Africa to take Israel to court over genocide, to the International Court of Justice over genocide, and not, say, Jordan or other Arab states?
We've come very clearly supporting the case that South Africa took to the ICJ. I think it's very important with the symbolism that South Africa has that the case was presented by South Africa, and the court has its own procedures, and at the right time, when the time comes for member states to make their interventions, we will make that. But I think, again, it's extremely symbolic, extremely important, extremely powerful that the case was raised by South Africa. And all of us in the Arab and Muslim world, when we met in Saudi Arabia in the joint Arab and Muslim summit, we've entrusted both the secretariats of both the League and the OIC to prepare all the legal documents that we will use going forward. So I think we have a plan here, and we're acting in accordance with it. And if the court decides for provisional measures and then goes forward to examine the case, then all of us, I believe, and I can speak for Jordan now, will be doing what we need to do and submit cases.
Could you expand on what doing what you need to do means, and what the result of your talks with the Palestinian Authority and the Egyptians, and further talks that you're going to have that you've talked about, and how you would collectively respond to the concept of Israeli control, total Israeli control west of the Jordan River?
I mean, we've always rejected that. We always said that this would only mean war. So any Israeli propositions, particularly by this government, to maintain control over the occupied Palestinian territories, including Gaza and East Jerusalem, is something that we've always stood against and will continue to stand against, and we'll continue to rally public opinion to understand the danger inherent of allowing Netanyahu to proceed with his policies. As I said, we're all working to put forward proposals. We're already in consultation. It's not a question of plans, to be honest. It's a question of will. The will of Israel to re-engage in a serious negotiations to achieve peace, and the will of the international community to take action against Israel if it continues to deny this region the peace that it deserves. On the court, sir, as I said, we support the case that South Africa have made. We will submit when the time for submissions of the legal arguments comes, and we're the court procedures on that.
All right, Foreign Minister, one more question. Israel has so far ruled out calls to allow the internationally recognised Palestinian Authority to govern both Gaza and the occupied West Bank. That is apparently Washington's preferred option. Where does Jordan stand?
We stand, I mean, as we said from the very beginning, Gaza is part and parcel of the occupied Palestinian territory. any discussion of Gaza and the day after has to be part and parcel of a broader approach that would include the occupied West Bank and occupied Jerusalem. And we do not accept any Israeli presence in Gaza, nor do we accept any Israeli control of any parts of Gaza. This has been the argument that we've made from the very beginning. This is the position that we're rallying support for. And let me just add one thing, and this is something that for the world to recognize. Even the U.S., which is providing Israel with support, says Israel has to conduct the aggression in accordance with international law. It's not. It says Israel has to allow sufficient humanitarian supplies into Gaza. It is not. It says the only path forward is a two-state solution that would realize a Palestinian state. The Palestinian government is saying, no, it will not allow that. So I think it should be clear to the whole world now which party is responsible for the terror that has been engulfing our part of the world, which party is responsible for denying our region the peace it deserves, and which party is driving this conflict further into abyss. And we've got to remember, as Israel continues with its aggression on Gaza, it is also conducting a quieter war in the West Bank, where it is suffocating the Palestinians economically, it's denying them the right to free worship, both Muslims and Christians. It is killing Palestinians, arresting Palestinians. And we have to remember that Ramadan is around the corner, and that's a month where we always have worked against the flare-up of violence. But in this kind of condition, I think the West Bank is boiling. And if the West Bank explodes under the pressure from Israeli aggressive policies, then I think we'll be talking about a much, much, much dangerous scenario, which would even have posed the more serious threat of dragging us all into a regional expansion of this war.
All right. Jordan's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ayman Safadi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.